Hello again in this video clip series, my journey to God in a very secularized world. I'll begin here a different theme that you can read in the article with the title, Our Dour Combat with the Powers of Evil. You can find that phrase also in the Catechism number 409. In this period, really, it's the greatest combat in the history of the world since creation, as Jesus told us in Matthew 24:21. We find, for example, even though, talking about in World War II, even though Joseph Goebbels, he was the Third Reich's Minister of Propaganda from 1933 to 1945. He often spoke openly about the strategy of the Reich's propaganda. He said, if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus by extension the truth is the greatest enemy of the state. He said it straight out openly. The Reich's Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels. The forces of evil have worked for years to destroy religion and diminish prayer. So now they can manipulate us as they want, guided by the Grand Master of Freemasonry. As Jesus said, he said, the sons of this world are wiser in their own generation than the sons of light. The puppets of the forces of evil today, guided by Freemasonry, which is guided by Satan, have worked hard in the last several decades to destroy the family, the fundamental cell of society. But most of the sons of light, who are beginning to open their eyes to the dire situation we find ourselves in, organize marches or petitions or other public manifestations, which satisfies our desire for protagonism, but we are not willing to obey Our Lady of Fatima and how to combat the forces of evil with much prayer and sacrifice. This is the real fundamental solution. As St. John Paul II said, prayer joined to sacrifice constitutes the most powerful force in human history. But we don't have time for prayer, and we don't want to suffer. And so the world's getting much worse very quickly. The church has always recognized that one of the highest and most important vocations in the church is the cloistered life of prayer and sacrifice. Since March of 2013, the Vatican is closing cloistered convents around the world if these religious refuse to abandon their vital vocation and then go out of the convent to become social workers. The devil does not want cloistered religious because it's very powerful against the devil and for the world, to help the world. What Joseph Goebbels wrote is also happening in the Catholic Church since March 2013. With those at the highest level in the church remaining silent about priests and bishops who promote the culture of death, while putting to silence in various covert ways those who promote the culture of life and denounce the gay agenda and the culture of death agenda. You might read an article I wrote, it's called Birds of a Feather Flock Together. Another article you might read, The False Pope Will Fall Silent. Today, the techniques of brainwashing the masses are much more sophisticated and powerful and hidden, not only using the mainstream media, social media, schools, and almost all the religious organizations, but also using very advanced nanotechnology, introducing into our bodies extremely small particles with artificial intelligence. You might read an article that you can't find it anymore because Google canceled it, but I had written an article that you can find with Free Republic, and the title is, "They Modify Us Without Our Permission." Google canceled that article, and of course Facebook. Also, the elite of the world, using the mainstream media of all kinds, have created great pressure on us to be politically correct, according to the dictates of the brainwashing of the mainstream media, to the point that those who begin to open their eyes and put the pieces of the puzzle together and to question the well-organized propaganda are automatically labeled conspiracy theorists. You might read my article. It's called "Those Who Open Their Eyes Are Labeled Conspiracy Theorists." Jesus said that the truth will make you free. But Jesus was talking about the truth of God. The truth of man or the world or the highly controlled television will give you what you want now, but later we will be slaves. But the only way to keep the truth of God is to live the truth of God, to live it, which can only be done with the help of God through sincere prayer, and for us Catholics, frequent reception of the Holy Sacraments. Without this vital help of God, our intellect becomes clouded, and the will becomes weak, unable to resist the many alluring temptations put before us, and thus we are easily swayed by the powerful mainstream media, which is in the hands of the forces of evil today. We're living in a world more full of falsehoods than ever before. Beautiful, deadly lies from the father of lies, presented as if they were the truth. Hidden, destructive deceptions, such as the devil, hell, and sin, no longer exist. Why did Jesus refer to hell in the four Gospels about 70 times? Why did Our Lady of Fatima show the 3 children hell and the many souls which go to hell every day in July 1917? The great majority of pastors today are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark. This is Isaiah 56, which is also quoted by Pope St. Gregory the Great, and you can find that in the Office of Readings, week 27 and Sunday. And also St. Augustine on his sermons on the shepherds, week 24 to 25, in ordinary time. And thus, they're dumb dogs unless they do not warn the sheep about the very sly wolf, Satan, and his very numerous collaborators. These poor pastors who seek to please men, who want a false Christianity without the cross of Christ, who seek glory before men, often offer misguided compassion and half-truths, which are worse than lies, especially to speak only about mercy without, as Jesus adds, go and sin no more. Why are families today falling apart more than ever before? Why do we close our eyes to the true causes and our great responsibility as pastors for this great tragedy and the great damage to the children deprived of a father and a mother? How many people, and in particular how many pastors, have embraced the easier way of ignorance is bliss? It's interesting talking about the children. In Amoris Laetitia, there's no mention of the damage to children of separated parents. Only what the adults want. So I like another woman, go with another woman. That's a love, amoris. There's no mention of the damage for the children. To take that responsibility for themselves and the children. No responsibility. Do what you want. Our priests and bishops today, good shepherds, are they ready to lay down our lives for the sheep and lose human esteem in order to protect the sheep by offering the whole integral truth? Or are we hirelings? Are we hirelings? Our Lady tells us to not judge anyone, but she continually asks us to pray for priests and bishops. There is less prayer and more sin than ever before, and thus it is we who have given great power to the powers of evil. And thus people believe the well-prepared lies on the television rather than the truth of the gospel explained by the church. This is why we can be so easily manipulated by those who control the mainstream media and by the manipulations and deceptions of advanced computers and nanotechnology to lead us to the worst dictatorship in the history of the world. It was surprisingly easy to overturn a presidential election in 2020 and to rig the midterm elections of 2022 to maintain the Democrats in majority. We are being brainwashed towards the goals of the ruling class, which will end up being the worst dictatorship in the history of the world. You can find on the YouTube an interesting article even before the second election of Obama. It's called "Programmer Under Oath Admits Computers Rig Elections" in YouTube. Due to the neglect of prayer, a very great number of people. No, I'll end right here. May God bless you and Mary guide you.